Wow, man. Yeah, that's insane, man. I'm lost for words, man. I'm happy you got your money at the end though, man. But yeah, that's crazy, man. I'm still in shock by you telling me that, she was laughing while you was getting convicted. Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah. I mean, look, Kamala Harris didn't care she cared about convictions. That's why she set up, a lot of people try to be like, oh yeah, she did the back on track program, to combat recidivism and not send people to prison. And oh, only 45 people did prison time out of the 1900 on weed cases, and and all of these things, right, to defend this horrible record. But what people don't understand is her whole thing on what she ran on against Hallahan was not being hard on crime, not being soft on crime, but being smart on crime, right? So she knew her strategy was to almost play this motherly figure, which that's where she got the term mamila from, this motherly figure to at-risk youth that's predominantly in African-American communities in San Francisco, whether it's Sunnydale, Potrero Hill, Fillmore, Lakeview, Alamany, Army, and the list goes on, right? Hunters Point, and convince these kids, right, 18 to 24, that when the police do arrest you, or whatever it may be, you come in and we're going to convict you if you go to trial. Convince them that they're guilty for them to take a deal. And if they take this deal, this felony conviction, then she'll release them and get them back on track. So yeah, no wonder why a lot of motherfuckers didn't get sentenced to go and do time. But if you pick up some of those cases out of those 1900, right, you'll see how many people ultimately ended up going and doing time. When they got sentenced and they took the deal, no, they didn't get instantly sent off. But now, if they fell off on that program, then now you're going to jail. Now you're going to jail. Now you're going to jail. But there's no way, when you see her conviction rate being all the way up that high, that was her being smart on crime. Get the conviction. And back on track was nothing but a mask of a program to hide to hide the fact that she was getting all of these convictions, to bolster her smart on crime, which is, black people, we never looked at like a prosecutor, which is being black and being a prosecutor is crazy, right? In general. But we never, like black people, we don't look at Kamala Harris as like this savior or like for us, because all she's known for is locking motherfuckers up. And, when every time I see her laugh and see her smile or say some dumb shit, I'm like, damn, why is she in this position? And then that makes you dig up her history, right? And once you start digging, you'll see that she kind of fucked her way to the top. Like, let's be honest, right? Not to say that she's dumb. I don't think she's a dumb lady, right? I think she's smart enough to get to where she's at, right? But how she did it, it's, some could speculate, right? Now, we could break it down from when she was working at the, Alameda District Attorney Office, right? Let's say in 93, right? 93. Come on. So, when celebrities go public, right? So she started with Willie Brown publicly in 1994, right? Now, we know if you're going public in 94, you was probably fucking with each other in 93, just not public, right? That's typically, when breakups happen and shit like that. And everybody knows that Willie Brown, he was married at the time, though everybody knew, and I believe his wife even knew that, he was a player. He had all the bitches. Like, that's what Willie Brown was known for. but also known for being a politician, which he was the biggest politician in California at the time, right? He was like the speaker of the assembly or some shit like that in general, but he had the most pull. Now, so one can say that he started messing with her in 93. Now, in 94, he launches his campaign to be mayor of San Francisco, right? And now he has, he goes public with Kamala Harris, right? Him on his arm, and at this time, he's introducing her to all of their friends, so forth. In the political world, the relationships are building, and now it's looking like this powerful black couple, you know what I mean, that's going to be, at the inside, mayor of San Francisco, right? This attorney, and then this mayor, very democratic, right? So that's in 94. Everybody knows that Willie Brown bought her a BMW in that year, 94. And then here comes 95. Mayor Willie, 94, 95. 95 is when the BMW is bought. Then 96, Mayor Willie Brown wins the election. He actually won at the end of 95. He becomes the mayor of San Francisco in 96. And immediately after he becomes mayor, he stops messing with Kamala Harris. And he said he stopped messing with her because she didn't see herself permanently fucking with him for forever. And he told her she was right. I'm going, right? So at that same time, Willie Brown wins. Hallahan, what's Hallahan's first name? Forget Hallahan's first name. Hallahan ends up winning district attorney of San Francisco, right? Kamala Harris, after Willie Brown broke up with her, while they was dating, he put her in two big positions in California, put her on a commission and put her on a board as well, to where with those positions combined, she's making $80K, $100K a year, right? But she's still working as a DA in Alameda at the time. Now she got 3 jobs, right? All because of she's fucking with Willie Brown, right? So they break up. She continues on with the job. That takes on all the way from 90. What was that? 96. I think that takes you all the way to 98. Now 98. Willie Brown went for re-election. Now, Hallahan and Willie Brown was falling out a little bit. I got to state that because it comes back in, right? And now, they both end up winning re-election, I believe, in 98. They both won re-election. But at that time, Kamala Harris came to her 10-year, and now I feel, and if you just look at the articles and you do your research, you'll see what Willie Brown's strategy was. And you'll see that Kamala Harris and Willie Brown, though that they wasn't fucking no more publicly, they were still connected to the hip. So Kamala Harris comes over and starts working at the San Francisco District Attorney Office, which is under the reign of Terrence Hallahan. Yeah, Terrence Hallahan at the time, right? So Mayor Willie Brown and Hallahan, they not seeing eye to eye. So you go ahead and you tap Kamala Harris, you put her in there. Now he's in office. She's in office to be the eyes and ears, because his plan is to get him out of office in the next 4 years, and ultimately to anoint Kamala Harris. So she plays her role. She plays her part as not attorney general, but as a regular prosecutor in San Francisco for the 2 years or whatnot. And Hallahan ended up noticing, and this takes you up to about 2020, right? Now, again, what's the next relationship that you know that Kamala Harris went public with? She went public with Montel Williams in 2001, right? And again, before you go public, you with a motherfucker probably like the year before, before you ultimately go public, right? So, and that's why I tell people, unofficially. We know when they went public, but before is unofficially. Now, Montel Williams at the time is married. She's in Hollywood. She has these connections and so forth, right? And now at that time, Montel Williams was suing the production company, I forget who owned the rights to the Montel Williams show. Guess who was his attorney? Doug Hemhoff, her now husband. So one could say, right now, what the story that she tells and what people say right now, that, she didn't meet Doug until 2013 on a blind date. So you telling me you a top attorney in San Francisco and you dating Montel Williams, who's in a legal battle, and you being a lawyer, and his lawyer is Doug Hemhoff, and you ain't met this man? Okay, whatever, right? That is, let's say, the first time they could have met in general. Then here come 2001. Kamala Harris and Montel Williams goes public, right? Montel Williams and Doug Hemhoff, they lose the rights that they were fighting for the Montel Williams show or whatnot. So now one could say in 2001, now that they're public and Doug Hemhoff and Montel Williams got this relationship like this, she had to have met this man. So Doug Hemhoff, while he plays a big part in all of this, because Doug Hemhoff, and why it made so much more sense for Kamala to start fucking with a Doug Hemhoff, right? Because Doug Hemhoff is a partner in this law firm, right? That represents congressmen, governors, senators across the whole United States. So he has the relationships up and down the political spectrum. And now they're kind of like, they make a little bit more sense together than, him and Montel Jordan. Now, Montel Jordan, this is 2001. He's divorced, right? He's divorced. You know why? He divorced because he thinking everything gonna be good with him and Kamala. You know what I mean? Nope, it didn't work out. You know why it didn't work out? And this is my opinion from doing the research and me just knowing how shit goes sometimes, right? I don't think she thought, her best play was to fuck with a Doug Hemhoff because of the relationships. But at the time, Doug Hemhoff is in a whole ass marriage. So one could say, right now, nothing is out there that I ain't gonna say she necessarily fucked him, and they was fucking with each other all the way up and on the back end, all the way up until 2013. That would just be preposterous, right? But when you think about it, it's like, hold on, Doug just came out. He trying to get ahead of it right now, right? He came out just recently saying that he cheated on his wife in 2019 with the nanny and ended up having a baby by the nanny. And that's why him and his wife ended up breaking up. Now, if Doug Hemhoff could admit to cheating in 2019 and he didn't meet Kamala until 2013, are we saying that Doug Hemhoff couldn't have been fucking Kamala Harris way before that time, but he was in a married situation, and Kamala Harris, her political ties in San Francisco was way too big, and she was a part of a bigger scheme that was going on in San Francisco, which was she needed to announce her running for district attorney of San Francisco. So when you look at it like that, right? So let me take you back. This is 2020, 2021, 2020. Mayor Willie Brown announces his running for mayor again. Well, he's a shoo-in. Ain't nobody going against him. But Hallahan has competition now. Kamala Harris. going up against, now Hallahan, he like, oh, I know what this dirty son of a bitch done did to me. Now, mind you, Hallahan was investigating the police department because of these officer-involved beating of these two men. 3 off-duty officers beat up two guys, and one of them had their son with them and all types of shit, whatever it may. He was investigating that, right? Now, what Mayor Willie Brown ended up doing, right, because he wanted to make sure that he was politically posturing, what he was doing. So, he ended up taking one of his long-having friends who was in the police department for 27 years and promoted him to chief of police in San Francisco. Now let's look at this. Mayor Willie Brown becomes the first ever African-American mayor. He appoints the first ever black police chief. And now, here comes Kamala Harris, right? And the strategy is to make her, to get back at Hallahan, but also make her the first ever black woman, black person, period, district attorney of San Francisco. And now, the whole of San Francisco being ran by the most powerful people in San Francisco is being ran by black people, right? Now, Hallahan, he got hip to this shit. He said, you know what? I got you. He ended up putting an indictment. He indicted the chief of police, his homeboy, homeboy, and 8 others for conspiracy to cover up Fajita Gate, because that's what the case was called, Fajita Gate, because they supposedly, these off-duty officers got into it with these other guys, some guys over some fucking fajitas. And that's how everything ended up happening. So now Terrence Hallahan, he did that, because that was his last thing, that he can do. Because now, after he does that, within 2 months of that, he ends up having to drop that case on the chief. The chief goes off into leave because now his name is tarnished and so forth and so on. He takes leave. He's already old as a motherfucker anyway, or whatnot. And now you got Kamala Harris that's campaigning against Hallahan because she knows the whole office. So she's hitting him left and right, bang, bang, bang. And then his mishandling of Fajita Gate. And then you got Willie Brown that's hitting them over the head in these political circles, raising money with the Dianne Feinsteins who ended up backing Kamala Harris. You got all the biggest political names in San Francisco and California backing Kamala Harris. And that's not because of her relationship, that's because of Willie Brown. And then she goes on to win not Attorney General, but District Attorney of San Francisco. And now it's like, okay, how, at that moment, obviously she has to stay in San Francisco. Now, she can't necessarily come out with a Doug him off or anything like that. And they'll never want to connect those dots, right? And it probably just didn't make sense. But to say that they didn't know each other until a blind date in 2013, I'm calling cap. Now, when she ran for district attorney, she said she was going to be smart on crime, right? Now, Hallahan was a progressive. He was the most progressive at that time, right? And she acted like she was going to be more progressive than he was, right? And that's why you see like a lot of the right wing always say that, she's ultra progressive and so on and so on, blah, 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 because that's how she promoted herself. But really, when you get into the weeds of it, she wasn't. She was really a diehard prosecutor that acted almost as a conservative. Because if you look at her record numbers, Kamala Harris locked up and convicted the most black people in San Francisco history under her not 4 years, 6 year in San Francisco than any other DA in San Francisco history. So how are you for us? And how was she that progressive when her records states the same? When she comes up with these strategies, smart on crime, remember, to deploy prosecutors to high schools and middle schools to try to hold parents accountable for their kids being truant. Oh, I want to make sure these kids get their education. Oh, really? So now you're going to start sending police officers up to these high schools and to these middle schools. And who did that ultimately affect? Who was ultimately missing 20 days or more from jail? Underserved communities, Black communities, like, Hispanic communities. My hood. I mean, I grew up poor. I probably missed 20 days every year of my life. And I know tons of motherfuckers else who did as well. So now you locking up parents and you profiling the kids as potential gang members, and you're activating the police. And now this was around a time of stop and frisk, which we was being stopped and frisked like a motherfucker in San Francisco. Now, you could go on and say, San Francisco is progressive in that way of thinking, especially when it comes down to locking motherfuckers up, right? As much as they come off as in, this lenient city, which, if you dated back 4 years ago, who our current mayor right now, London Breed, who the presidential candidate she got behind was Mayor Bloomberg, who started stop and frisk in New York City. He was looked at as the Democratic Donald Trump. And he literally went to every city that had a Black mayor, and they all endorsed him. But one can say that when Kamala Harris was in her reign of office as San Francisco district attorney, there was no way somebody could say that she wasn't hard on crime. There's no way that somebody could say just from her literacy and her education and her pizzazz got her to where she at right now. And once people start digging into the weeds of it, which I know Trump and they office, they gonna put the dots together. But one dot that they didn't put together, they didn't put together that Doug Himoff attorney for Montel Williams at the exact same time that Kamala Harris is fucking Montel Williams. Either the year before, the year, or the year after. But once they get a hold of that and they start connecting those dots, it's going to be a bigger story to tell.